Okay, let's begin learning muscles by starting with muscles of facial expression. A few things I want you to focus on when we're learning muscles. One is grouping muscles with similar function. So for example, muscles of facial expression is a group. They all do a similar thing in that they're involved in facial expression. Another group might be muscles of mastication. They are all involved in chewing. So they all move your mandible. We might get to muscles that are involved in breathing, so respiratory muscles. Or how about abdominal muscles? That's a group of muscles. Or rotator cuff muscles. So it makes things a little easier, a little more manageable when you can group muscles that have similar actions or similar locations. Next thing, when we're learning a muscle, I want you to think about why they named that muscle. That will help you understand and be able to identify or know the action of that muscle. Obviously, you need to be able to identify these muscles, whether the picture I show you is from your book, your lab book, or one of the models in the laboratory. You should be able to identify and write down the name of the muscle. You should also know what that muscle does. We call that the action. So if asked what muscle does this, you can choose what muscle does that action. You should also think about what muscles might be synergistic and what muscles might be antagonistic. So if given a certain muscle, can you name the antagonist of that muscle? The last thing you might want to think about are the origins and insertions. Now, I'm not going to hold you tightly to that because that would require a lot of information. But you might hear me mention the origin of the muscle or the insertion of the muscle. That helps you understand where that muscle is coming from, what is it attaching to, and therefore what does it move. And muscles always move at the insertion. So if you know the insertion, it often helps you understand the action of the muscle. You might also want to find animations, videos of muscle contraction. Sometimes when we're looking at just a picture that is not moving or a model that doesn't move, it might be harder to understand the action of the muscle if you don't see it working. There's a number of animations, videos on YouTube. I have some links in Canvas that actually show the muscle moving. And don't forget, you have these muscles. You have all these muscles. You can practice learning their action by thinking about the muscle contracting, causing the muscle to contract. That's the beauty of skeletal muscle, in that they're voluntary. You can voluntarily practice learning these muscles by causing those muscles to contract. Okay, let's begin. Muscles of facial expression are muscles that all move skin. They're skeletal muscles because they do originate off of bones, but instead of inserting into a bone, they're going to insert into skin, and therefore they move skin. First one is fairly easy. It's called the frontalis. It's found right on top of your frontal bone. This muscle has an origin, which is up here. There's a flat tendon on top of your head. It's called an aponeurosis. It's actually known as the epicranial aponeurosis because it's on top of your cranium. But if that's the origin, it doesn't move that. It continues down, here's the muscle portion, and inserts just underneath your eyebrows. So it inserts into the skin just underneath your eyebrows. So when this muscle contracts, it pulls that skin up towards its origin. So this muscle, when it contracts, it raises your eyebrows and therefore wrinkles your forehead. That is a facial expression. Next muscle is known as the Orbicularis Oculi. Orbicularis means little circle, or if you think of orbit, when you orbit, you go around something. This muscle goes around or orbits your eye. It actually originates here in the medial portion, wraps around that eye, and then comes back to that medial portion. But when it contracts, you can imagine it squeezes closed your eyes. So this muscle is used to close your eyes. We're going to learn a different muscle opens your eyes. Now this muscle would have to relax. Right? If it contracts to close your eye, it needs to relax to help you open your eye. But there's also a muscle right in here in that upper eyelid. And that muscle helps elevate your eyelid so you can open your eyes. There's a number of muscles just below the eye, and they insert into your lip. There's 3 here that we have to keep straight. This one is called the levator labii superioris because it elevates your upper lip. So it raises your upper lip. It originates right under here at your maxilla. Remember your maxillary bones? It inserts into that upper lip and lifts it up. The other 2 bones, or muscles, are both zygomatic. Zygomaticus major and zygomaticus minor. They're called zygomaticus because notice their origin is at the zygomatic or cheekbone. They insert and they help you smile. The zygomaticus minor goes to the upper lip, kind of like the levator labii superioris. Whereas the zygomaticus major goes more to the corner of your mouth. So sometimes size will tell you which is which. Like again, minor versus major. The minor is smaller than the major. Not much though. The better way to differentiate these 2 is look at their insertions. One of them inserts at the upper lip, the other inserts at the corner of the mouth. Continuing with more facial expression muscles. There's the one in your eyelid. Palpebra means eyelid. This muscle in that upper eyelid elevates your upper eyelid. So they named it that. Levator palpebrae superioris. Elevates your upper eyelid. And you do that to open your eyes. So this one opens your eyes. The Orbicularis Oculi helps close your eyes. There's an Orbicularis Oris, a circular muscle that orbits around your mouth. When it contracts, it squeezes that closed. We call that protruding your lips, or closing your mouth, protruding your lips. We do that when we kiss someone, when we whistle. This muscle contracts to help you whistle. There's 3 muscles below your mouth. Just like we learned 3 muscles above your mouth, acting more on your upper lip, we've got a few muscles below your mouth that act on your lower lip. There's a depressor labii inferioris, because it depresses or lowers your lower lip. There's also one called the Depressor Anguli Oris. This one goes more to the corner or the angle of the mouth. Depressor Anguli Oris lowers the angle of the mouth. We do that a number of facial expressions. It also helps to open your mouth by pulling that corner down. There's a third one not mentioned here, right here in the chin area. It's called the mentalis. That guy helps protrude your lower lip, kind of sticks your lower lip out when you're pouting. Finally, there's a muscle in your neck that's a facial expression muscle. It's a very wide, broad, but flat muscle. And it actually covers the entire neck. It's only shown on this side. Kind of comes up off of your chest and inserts that skin of your mandible, skin on top of your mandible. This muscle draws the lower lip down, but it also tenses that skin in your neck. Kind of tightens up that skin in your neck, often when you're showing that sign of disgust. So if you think about looking at something very, very gross, with that facial expression of disgust is often due to that platysma. And platy means broad and flat. So it's a very broad and flat muscle. Covers the entire neck. This is a lateral view. A lot of the same muscles we just identified you can see on a lateral view, like the frontalis, the orbicularis oculi. The frontalis has another part to it called the occipitalis. In fact, this is often referred to as all one muscle, called the occipitofrontalis. And that muscle is really separated by this broad, flat tendon, that aponeurosis. But the occipitalis helps draw your scalp backwards. There's the levator labii superioris, zygomaticus minor, zygomaticus major, depressor labii inferioris. There's the depressor anguli oris. There's another muscle here called the rhizoris. Rhizoris means laughing. It's a laughing muscle. Platysma temporalis. Notice the temporalis is in a different color. That's because the temporalis is not a facial expression muscle. It's actually a muscle of mastication. We're going to learn about it when we learn about chewing. Masseter is also not a facial expression muscle. It's a muscle of mastication. Splenius capitis and sternocleidomastoid. We're going to save those two for the next video.